Magandang araw po sa inyo lahat. Ako po si Christian Esguerra and welcome po sa ating episode ngayong araw dito po sa Facts First. So today is July 19, 2024. So ilang tulog na lang po at madidinig na po natin at mapapanood na po natin itong State of the Nation address si President Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos na gaganapin po sa Lunes, July 22. This is a constitutional duty or obligation by a sitting president to address the nation basically in a joint session of Congress. So basically, nung huling episode natin, pag-usapan natin, sino ba dito yung pinaka-audience ng Pangulo tuwing nagsasalita siya or nagbibigay ng kanyang State of the Nation address. So mas bubusisiin po natin ang kanyang SONA, especially in light of a recent survey kung saan sinasabi ano ba yung pinaka-urgent na concerns ng mga Pilipino. So basically, pag kinonect natin yon, kung ito yung most urgent concerns for them, edi dapat ito yung ina-address ng Pangulo o i-address ng Pangulo sa kanyang State of the Nation address. So makakausap po natin ngayong araw na ito. So again, this is a record episode po. No? We're recording this episode at 2:07 p.m. today. So mapapanood nyo, kung nanonood po kayo ngayon nakikinig, 8:30 p.m. po, pero same day. Okay? So pasensya na po because I had to record this episode dahil meron po ako importanteng inaasikaso. So I'd like to welcome to our program. Siya po yung tagapamuno ng Political Science Department ng University of the Philippines. I'd like to welcome again to our program si Professor Aris Arugay. Magandang gabi or magandang araw, Professor, and thank you for joining us.
Magandang araw, Christian, at kung unang beses to mapapanood ng mga listeners mo, magandang gabi po sa inyo.
Okay. Oo, alam ko meron kang importanteng forum, no? Pasensya ka na, Prof. Ginambala kita ngayong araw na ito. Sana hindi ka madala. Okay. Importante yung pinag-uusapan natin. No? Unang-una, let's try to address itong lumabas sa Pulse Asia Survey kung saan lumalabas na 7 out of 10 Filipinos. So, pinaka-urgent concern nila, controlling inflation. How should the administration deal with findings like this?
Ito yung matagal na, no? Hindi ito yung unang pagkakataon na controlling inflation yung pinaka-urgent na concern. I think it goes back pandemic issue to lumitaw and dahil nga malapit sa sikmura ang inflation kasi wala namang pinipili yan, no? Lahat tayo apektado diyan. It's just a matter on how well do we adjust towards inflation. So hindi naman kasi paiba-iba yung presyo, depende sa yaman ng isang tao. Ngunit syempre mas ramdam ito nung hindi masyadong maganda ang economic conditions. Siguro ang interpretation ko na resilient siya na national concern kasi ito talaga yung nadadama, no, ng bawat Pilipino sa pang-araw-araw. Kung pakikinggan mo yung news, araw-araw may balita na tataas ang kuryente, tataas ang tubig, tataas ang bilihin. Tapos meron pa tayong mga supply shortages of basic commodities na nagpapaano pa ng demand and therefore pati yung presyo. So I think while the government acknowledges it, mukhang kulang yung actual measures, immediate measures, kasi ang napapakinggan ko parati mas long term yung mga measures at the moment. Hindi talaga yan mararamdaman kaagad. And because of that, magiging makulit talaga yung mga taong bayan in perceiving that the government needs to address this kasi so far the solutions do not have a direct and immediate impact.
How important is it for the president to address this issue head-on sa kanyang paparating na SONA? Although pinag-uusapan naman ito lagi, no? Pero kasi given the context that we have now, no? Meron siyang political squabble with this vice president, hindi ganun kaganda, pero mataas pa rin yung kanyang approval at saka yung kanyang trust ratings. And given this particular finding na talagang gut issues yung hinahanap ng mga tao, how important is it for the president to address these head-on?
Unang-una, if if the objective is to somehow improve, no? Yung mamaya pag-uusapan natin yung performance at approval, ito yung isa sa pinaka siguradong may impact, no? Positively. And however, on the other hand, pag hindi naman to na-address, marahil may impact din ito dun sa approval niya mismo, no? Kasi nakita natin na it's still high but not as high as, for example, the former president and others. Kaya lang isipin din natin, Christian, na yung President Marcos, when he was campaigning for president, nakatutok siya sa ekonomiya eh. Yun yung parang ano niya, 'di ba? Tangible, immediately felt promises, no? 20 peso kilo rice and all of that. So ito yung didikit sa mga consciousness ng mga Pilipino, and given na papunta na siya halfway, no, sa kanyang termino, wala nang learning curve dapat doon, no? Hindi na pwede din sabihin na binibigyan siya ng honeymoon. So if this is not addressed, mauubusan na rin ng paliwanag, no? However, meron din narrative na yung mga Pilipino, they give a lot of leeway sa leaders kasi hindi naman niya kasalanan kung mataas ang presyo. This is global. But sa ibang bansa na-address siya. So, I mean, in other words, sad to say, inflation and a lot of the gut issues, while there are certain factors that cannot be controlled by the leadership and by the government, there are supposed to be ways to address this. At kung hindi yun napupunan, lalong magiging precarious at lalong magiging doubtful yung mga taong bayan kung tama ba yung ginagawa ng administrasyon na to, lalo na yung slogan ng gobyerno ngayon, bagong Pilipinas, di ba? So, ano yung bago? Kung mataas ang inflation, walang bago.
Tsaka ano rito, no, siguro maganda ipunto rin kasi hindi pareho si President Marcos kay President Duterte in the sense na kahit anong iba mo kay Duterte, kahit mabilis yung pagtaas ng presyo ng mga bilihin, kahit hindi ganun kaganda yung response ng pandemic, di ba parang naging consensus dyan, hindi dumikit personally and politically kay President Duterte. In the case of President Marcos, would you say he doesn't enjoy that same Teflon characteristic?
Nakita natin kasi kung titignan mo yung approval ratings niya, no, at yung performance ratings niya, kasi SWS measures satisfaction with performance, Pulse Asia measures approval. Yun nga coming into the third year, walang bump, wala rin pero yung pag-decline, although hindi naman talaga nag-decline kasi parang 2 points lang, no. But comparatively, yung numbers ni Marcos is not as high as the Duterte's. But we also know because Duterte is always in the news cycle and will always try and grab the political limelight through his rhetoric on drugs, on the US, on communist insurgency. Mas elusive si President Marcos. He doesn't really directly engage. He has curated YouTube videos, but apart from that, hindi rin siya ganun ka daily seen and daily felt. Duterte doesn't really travel a lot. No? Sa China lang naman siya pumupunta parate, tsaka sa Russia, compared to, for example, President Marcos, who've been, around the world many times, not even halfway his term.
Okay, so in short, itong issues ng gut, yung issues ng sikmura, talagang dumidikit kay President Marcos.
Totoo, kasi unang-una, araw-araw mong mararamdaman yan. Pangalawa, while you may think na, okay, the government hindi naman naglalak ng awareness of this issue. But of course, at the end, kung wala ka nang mabunot sa bulsa mo o sa wallet mo, magtatanong ka bakit hindi ako tinutulungan ng gobyerno? Bakit walang nangyayari na improvement, no, sa economic conditions? And there's only so much that social media propaganda and disinformation can do, no, to alleviate that. Lalo na kung ang problema na is paano mo maitatawid yung pang-araw-araw. And kaya lang kasi meron din this junk, Christian, kasi ang benta sa Pilipinas, highest, fastest growing economy, the Philippines is rising middle income, may mga ganun pang naratibo. Pero kung ikaw, wala kang mapunot sa wallet mo, yung naratibo na yun, contradictory siya eh. Parang, bakit pasiklab? But puro optics. But at the end, pag pumunta ka sa palengke, yung 1,000 mo, walang mabibili na substantive na kailangan mo sa pang-araw-araw.
Kaya nga 'di ba ang mga hirit sa palengke, di bumili kayo sa TV Patrol. O kaya bumili kayo kay President Marcos kung sinasabi niya 20 pesos yung per kilo na yung bigas. Na incidentally, dun sa survey ng Pulse Asia, only 4% of Filipinos ang naniniwala that President Marcos has delivered on his promise to lower the price of price to 20 pesos per kilo. Although sabi ng kanyang mga taga-suporta, hindi naman daw ito pangako kundi aspiration. Okay, sige. Puntahan natin itong marami kasi nalilito rito sa performance at saka trust rating. So dito, sa Pulse Asia survey, ang naging anggulo ng mga reports tungkol dito sa survey, si President Marcos, bumaba yung kanyang approval at yung kanyang trust rating. Pero itong si Vice President Sara Duterte, tumaas yung approval at yung kanyang trust na natili. Unang-una, when it comes to performance or approval ratings, is it even logical or wise to compare two public officials occupying different positions?
Actually, sa tingin ko, politically, ngayon lang tayo nagkukumpara ng president at vice president because we all know that at the moment, silang dalawa yung may holders of the most political power or authority in the country right now because they ran together, uniteam, and every Filipino voter still believes that Sara Duterte helped, and even I think she herself believes this narrative that she made it possible for Marcos to be president. At yung mga counterfactuals na what if Sara ran against Marcos in 2022, yung mga ganun na naratibo, parang nilalagay sila sa parehong, ina-assess sila pareho because at the moment, ito yung nagiging political line, social media lunod sa Marcos versus Duterte narratives at the moment, kaya nga dun sa neither of the two, masarap kumain ng popcorn while you watch all these pro Marcos and pro Duterte having at each other. But dun sa pagkumpara, oo, unfair yon kasi unang-una ang trabaho ng presidente napakahabang listahan, from head of state, head of government, commander-in-chief, chief administrative officer, lahat, And ang political culture sa nating mga Pilipino, pag hindi nakuha yung basura sa kalye, ang may kasalanan presidente, On the other hand, itong vice president naman, while hindi naman siya required mabigyan ng cabinet position kasi nga titingnan natin ng batas, wala naman siyang trabaho eh. Hindi siya katulad ng US Vice President who presides at the Senate. Siya, ang kanyang trabaho talaga ay maghintay kung siya ay magiging constitutional successor. Despite the fact na he, she, or they can be elected independently kasi hindi naman straight ticket voting. Na nga pala, Christian, hindi constitutional yun. In fact, there was a time wherein straight ticket voting ang Pilipinas, for some reason, yung electoral laws natin offered that chance. So you don't really need to change the constitution to mandate a straight ticket electoral system. Meaning, hindi tayo pwedeng maghati ng boto, from one ticket yung president, yung isa sa vice president. We have had our history na they're elected jointly. Anyway, and given that, ina-expect naman talaga that if you have a very popular vice president, yung kanyang maaaring approval ratings, nakadikit yung popularity niya. Kasi hindi naman lahat ng Pilipino, pag tinanong mo sa survey, meron siyang enough information to really assess performance. I don't know kung yung mga Pilipinong tinanong ng Pulse, meron silang notebook o meron silang file sa computer nila of every single act, every single performance, every single substantive achievement. So, pag sinabi mong performance, magkakadikit na yun eh. Do I like this politician? Ano ang kasaysayan ko sa politiko na to? Ano yung perceptions ko sa kanya? Ano yung impressions ko sa kanya? Not necessarily, ano yung trabaho at nagawa niya ba to talaga?
Tama yan. Especially dati, di ba, may mga previous surveys pa. Ito rin yung pinupunto ko. Baka unfair pag tinanong yung performance or approval rating kunwari ng Chief Justice kasi maraming hindi naman nakakaunawa na they speak through their decisions, yung korte, yung Supreme Court in particular. So, kailangan din na matinding paliwanag for instance sa mga tao kung ano ba talaga yung mga trabaho. Kaya dito for instance, yung ibang nagkukumpara, ang baba ng performance ng Senate President o kaya nitong House Speaker kumpara doon sa Presidente o Vice Presidente, magkakaiba kasi ng trabaho yan. Tsaka technically, wala naman halos talagang trabaho ang Vice Presidente. Much of these ratings are driven by perception. Pero yung trust, pwede mo ikumpara yan, di ba? Across positions. Kasi ang pinag-uusapan yan, tiwala.
Yeah. I think yung trust, ito yung mas direct na question tungkol sa personal na relasyon nung respondent dun sa politiko. Kasi sa political culture din natin, kaya tayo personality-oriented, kasi we always have this thinking na we have direct relationships with politicians. Dahil nga wala tayong matatag na mga partido, yung relasyon natin sa politiko, personal, hindi institutional, hindi through the party. No? In other countries, through the party, the politician actually doesn't have any agency or identity kasi ang identity niya yung partido. So yung relasyon ng botante o ng citizen sa partido hindi dun sa politiko. Not all, no? Pero yun nangyayari. So yung sa trust, I think kaya nga sa akin sa totoo lang when I interpret Pulse Asia surveys, mas tinitingnan ko yung trust. Sa tingin ko mas naiintindihan ng mga respondent yung tanong na pinagkakatiwalaan nyo po ba yung politiko na to? Or kesa sa tanong na nag-agree ba kayo sa performance o approve ba kayo sa performance ng isang politiko na to? Kasi yung trust, ano yung information na kailangan doon, hindi ganun kasing taas sa performance. Kasi ang tinitignan lang, how do I perceive this politician? Pinagkakatiwalaan ko ba to? Ano ang reputasyon nito sa akin? So I think importanteng masala natin yung dalawang dimensions na yon, no, nang tinatanong sa mga presidential at other high officials na ratings ng surveys.
In this case, kung trust ratings ang pag-uusapan, talaga magkalayo kasi si BBM 52%, si Sara Duterte 71%. Okay, puntahan natin itong mismong SONA ni President Marcos sa darating na Lunes. Tama ba yung perspective na pag SONA, panahon niya ng singilan? Ano yung pinangako mo last year, sisingilin ka namin ngayon? Is that even logical? 1 year yung gap.
I mean, I guess at the very least, kailangan may follow through, no? Ibig sabihin, kung sinabi niya to last year, at maganda nga ginagawa to ng media, ginagawa to ng mga academics na to remind Filipinos, kasi alam niyo naman maigsi ang ating political memory, no? Na ipaalala na ito yung mga sinabi, ito yung mga pinangako, ito yung mga sinabi ng kampanya na may follow-up. Importante yung paniningil, but we also know that in Philippine politics, yung pananagutan at paniningil, hindi siya norm, hindi natin siya ginagawa, hindi siya routinized, hindi siya institutionalized. But I do think, sa tingin ko, ang way, pwede natin kalampagin yung administrasyon, but it must also be said that hindi mo kayang i-fake news, you can't fake news or you can't disinformation your way into solving economic issues and other issues that are faced by the nation. There's only much that disinformation narratives can do. No? At the very end, there will come to a point wherein you will have to really face the music. Meaning, pwedeng, malamang sa SONA na to, pwedeng sabihin na we're still working on it, but mahaba ang pise, but some Filipinos might not be as patient as others. And if the government and President BBM himself wants to improve his approval ratings and wants to increase yung satisfaction ratings vis-a-vis, for example, if the government thinks na kino-compare yung dalawa, baka nga magandang may ganun dynamic kahit hindi naman dapat, so that at least this government will be challenged and will not simply rely on I was elected by a majority of the voters, 56%, 30 million Filipinos, what have you. Because at the end, wala na, tapos na yun eh. Ngayon, ang dapat basihan, hindi yung ilan yung bumoto sa'yo noong 2022. Ang usapan na ngayon is, ginagawa mo ba yung trabaho mo? At anong magandang naidulot at magandang mga promises na pinangako mo ang naisakatuparan na?
Oo nga eh, no? Tsaka ito pa, pag-usapan natin yung truthfulness or factuality, yung pagiging factual ng isang State of the Nation address. Kasi, di ba, presumably, napaka-reliable niyan kasi presidente yung nagsasalita and he has so many information that no other government official or ordinary Filipino definitely can have. So, nasa kanya yun. Kaso, although mataas pa rin naman yung kanyang trust rating, 52%. 1 out of 2 Filipinos may tiwala sa kanya. Pero yun nga paano ba natin dapat tingnan yan? Kasi ang laking bagay din naman yan, syempre yung propaganda. Kunwari ako yung presidente, feeling ko wala man ako masyado nagawa dito sa parte na ito. Ako mismo, paniniwalaan ko yung sarili kong press release. So how do ordinary Filipinos should perceive? How should they perceive a State of the Nation address?
Of course, hinihintay natin kung ano yung sasabihin. Pero sa ating mga medyo marami-rami ng sona na pakinggan, maging critical din tayo. Ano yung hindi sinasabi? Ano yung mga issues na hindi hinaharap? Anong conditions yung nilalatag sa atin about the state of our country na hindi akma dun sa pang-araw-araw natin na pamumuhay or experience, no? So sa akin kasi we've seen how President Marcos is to his credit is a good deliverer of speeches, no? Binabasa niya maayos at as told to me by certain sources, very consultative, no? Humihingi ng government inputs, so yung speech niya sa Shangri-La, for example, sa Shangri-La Dialogue. On the other hand, no? Importante rin na hindi propaganda lamang ito, no? Na hindi lamang ito isang performance act, na we're not just being shown the best versions of the Philippines, which is okay, but it's a truthful account of the state of the country. Kasi at the end, yung mga hindi magaganda, kaysa ang importante dyan, tinatago ba yun? No? Hindi na lang ba sinasabi para lang baka mamaya hindi naman maalala ng mga tao. So wag na lang natin banggitin kung ano yung mga challenges. But let us remember, this is also a chance for the president to rally society, to rally the Filipino people. So kung hindi ka magbabanggit ng challenges doon at puro rosy pictures, no? Everything is great, everything is fine. How can you ask for help? How can you ask for further support? So ano yun yung it's a delicate balancing act for me. President BBM must be able to tell us the truth, no? Weird as it may sound, he must tell us the truth kasi this is what we expect from publicly elected officials, and the truth hurts, but the truth will move us forward. Kung ano yung dapat natin harapin, at ang tingin ko, this is a better way than covering things up into nice, beautiful language, pero ang totoong kondisyon malayo sa pinapresenta sa atin.
Ikaw, Prof. Aris, what would you like to hear or see sa Monday?
Ako, unang-una, I hope hindi siya magmukhang parang Oscars or Met Gala. Kasi sa totoo lang, umay na, no? Ano na siya, yung gas-gas, no? But I won't be surprised if it will look like that. Gastusan mo ng 20 million, di ba? I mean, on the other hand, I do hope that there will be really a truthful telling of the actual state of the country. Kasi nga, kailangan i-square yung circle. We're hearing news about the promise of the Philippines, pag nasa abroad si President Marcos. But can you recall may mga global surveys, parati tayong kulelat tayo sa education, yung work-life balance, kulelat, Manila is the worst places to live, most dangerous places for tourists. I mean, how can you reconcile this with the bagong Pilipinas, with the rosy pictures that the government want to? I'm not saying na ang dapat sabihin lamang yung mga masasama, no? Sa akin, balansehin. Ano yung mga aspeto na we are doing progress, we are doing good work? Ano yung mga aspeto na challenge tayo, kailangan pa ng work, kailangan ng magkaisa, kailangan ng and I think this is the opportunity for Marcos to also rally yung Kongreso. Kasi yun naman talaga eh. I mean, he is speaking to all of us, but wala naman tayong lahat sa Batasang Pambansa or sa House of Representatives sa Lunes, no? His main audience there are the people's representatives. So lalo na that not even, I think, half of his legislative agenda has seen the light of day. So, kumbaga nangangalahati na, nandun na tayo, dapat parating na tayo dun sa maganda at exciting part, no? Kaya lang parang lumalabas, yung exciting part parang politika eh, hindi totoong governance. So, yun yung sana wag mangyari, because if we will all be drowned again by polarizing politics, then walang character development, kumbaga walang development at all, kasi mukhang politika na naman ang lalabas in the next few years.
Yun nga, and whether we like it or not, a big part of the narrative will have to cover, for instance, the Vice President's absence. Medyo weird nga yung sabi ng Vice President eh. Siya lang daw yung Vice President na parang ina-expect na umattend or something. Vice President ka, tsaka kakampi mo yun eh, no? Yeah, pero anong basa mo ron, Prof. Aris? The fact that the Vice President, kahit ganung sila during the campaign, dikit na dikit, supposedly, bigla magsasabi ngayon, no, I won't attend. Tapos magjo-joke ng designated survivor. Tapos nung tinanong siya about it to clarify, kung hindi raw naintindihan, mahirap talaga maintindihan yung sinasabi niya, di ba? I mean, I don't think any of that made sense, no? Pero ikaw, anong basa mo ron?
I mean, I share your view, no? It's highly confounding, nakakalito. At this is not what we were offered, no? Nung tumakbo sila sa mga posisyon na to. So, parang nakikita natin I'm sorry to say, nakikita natin yung tunay na kulay, no? Because I don't know if these politicians show these colors that they're showing us, will they be able to capture some votes, no? Although syempre you can get votes beyond simply, on a lot of things, no?
Pag magbudots ka, may boto yan sigurado.
Right. So, kumbaga, hindi ko naman sinasabi na lahat ng botante ay iisang kalidad lamang, no? But what I'm saying is, sana yung oras, yung pag-iisip, yung energies na re-channel sa actual deliverable results. Kasi for now, parang ang nangyayari, we're being drowned in sound bites. We're being drowned in, sa tingin ko, metaphors, lines, and things that would make for a good telenovela or political drama on Netflix. Pero mga kababayan, nasa totoong buhay po tayo. Hindi po political drama itong pang-araw-araw nating buhay. Araw-araw po meron po tayong challenges, political, economic. So, okay po na ma-distract, no? Pero wag po naman natin sanang isipin na yung drama na napapanood natin sa Netflix, dapat yun yung maging realidad. Politics should not be conducted through sound bites, but to really address the issues facing the nation and to actually make sure that politicians do their jobs and not simply give sound bites for the media to quote.
Well said, Professor Aris Arugay. Thank you very much for joining us today, for joining us tonight. Maraming salamat sa iyo. By the way, nasaan ka ba sa Monday? Baka marami kang guesting, no?
Pamimigay po natin so that may ano naman kami dito. Isa po kaming buong departamento ng Agampang Politika. So there be several of us who will hopefully try to make sense. We'll try our best, make sense of SONA and hopefully identify the pressing issues that we must confront together as a nation. Kasi wala naman dapat koponan dito eh. Kaya lang yung unit team at yung unity at their level mismo hindi nila naisa sa katuparan. Paano pa sa level nating mga ordinaryong mamamayan?
Okay. O, sige, abangan natin yung pag-farm out sa inyong mga political scientists sa darating na Lunes. Okay, maraming salamat sa iyo, Professor Aris Arugay. Thank you for joining us today, for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
Yan po si Professor Aris Arugay. Siya po yung head ng UP Department of Political Science. Usually kasi itong mga panahon na ito, mas active yung role ng mga political scientists, no? Ng mga eksperto pagdating sa pag-aaral ng politika. Dahil we need these people to help us make sense of issues, in particular, yung darating na SONA. Pero maganda yung kanina, no? Yung huling punto na pinag-uusapan namin. Madalas ko rin siyang ulit-ulitin dito sa programa natin kung napapansin nyo. No? Pag pinapanood natin yung away ng mga politiko natin, okay siya, it's very entertaining. It's political theater. No? So para bang nakakatakas tayo doon sa problema natin na pang-araw-araw. Para tayong nanonood ng isang pelikula. Para tayong nanonood ng isang series. At namamangha tayo, na-entertain, naiinis tayo doon sa mga developments pagdating sa politika. Ano po yung isa sa pinaka quote-unquote entertaining political episodes na nakikita natin lately? Of course, itong away, itong supposedly miyembro ng Uniteam. Diba? Tumakbo sila on the basis of unity noong 2022. At nanalo sila with a resounding vote. Si President Marcos at si Vice President Sara Duterte. Pero that early, alam naman ng mga tao talagang matino mag-isip na that was a political marriage of convenience. Alam naman natin na hindi talaga malinaw o malalim o matibay yung nagbibigkis doon sa tinatawag na Uniteam na iyon. And as expected, hindi naman siya surprising, soon after the victory was assured, soon after the Marcos Duterte ticket assumed office, meron tayo nakita agad ng mga cracks. No? And mabilis nag-unravel. At ngayon, full-blown na talaga. Alam mo na biyak na. Kaya dun sa mga politically dishonest or intellectually dishonest na mga political observers, huwag nyo na pong ipilit na meron pa pong Uniteam. Talagang wala na po. No? So si President Marcos, wala na sa kanya si Vice President Sara Duterte. In fact, nag-resign na si Vice President Sara Duterte bilang Education Secretary. Okay. So napaka-entertaining yan para sa maraming nag-o-observe. Okay? Pati yung mga sumuporta sa oposisyon at hindi dito kay Marcos at kay Duterte, sila mismo na-entertain at ang sinasabi nila, nakikita ko online yung mga comments, no? Masarap daw manood, kulang na lang popcorn. Pero, pag ina-analyze po natin itong issue na ito, hindi po ito nakakatuwa. Actually, nakakaiyak, nakakadismaya, nakakagigil. Bakit kanyo? Di ba nanonood tayo ng pelikula to be entertained? We go to the movies, we watch Netflix as a form of escape. Makatakas kahit papano doon sa pang-araw-araw na preoccupation natin. Siyempre, pag pinag-usapan natin Netflix, yung mga ordinaryong Pilipino yung talaga mahihirap, wala naman silang access sa ganyan, di ba? Pero I'm using this example in the context of the political theater that we are in now. Doon sa political performance, doon sa political entertainment na nakikita natin. Di ba? Nanonood ka na isang pelikula, nanonood ka na isang series as a form of escapism. Gusto mo makatakas. Kasi siguro nababagot ka, naiinis ka, naaasar ka doon sa tunay na buhay na meron ka. So manunood ka. Pwede mong gawin yung kung Netflix. Pwede mong gawin yung kung HBO, kung Prime, o kung manonood ka sa isang sinehan. Gusto mo na entertainment. Okay? Gusto mong maiyak, gusto mong malungkot, whatever it is, whatever feeling or emotion that you want to have at that particular moment of escape. Ang problema, pag itong mentality nito ng escapism, dadalhin mo doon sa pag-obserba mo doon sa away politika o doon sa political entertainment. For instance, sa pagitan ni Duterte at ni Marcos, teka muna, hindi naman sila entertainers. Hindi naman po sila mga artista. Sila po ay mga halal na opisyal ng ating gobyerno. They're not here to politically entertain us. They're here to perform, not as entertainers, but as public officials. They're here to govern. So, hindi pwede na okay na, nakakalimutan na natin yung problema dahil na-entertain tayo sa away o patutsadahan nito mga kampo ng mga Marcos at ng mga Duterte. In the meantime, yung karamihan ng mga Pilipino, gutom. Karamihan ng mga Pilipino, hindi alam kung paano makakaraos pagdating doon sa tinatawag na inflation o yung bilis sa pagtaas ng mga presyo ng bilihin at ng mga basic services, for instance. So, yun ang wag nating kakalimutan. We should not be blinded. We should not be befuddled. We should not be fooled or duped by these political characters in this political theater that we are in now. Hindi po tayo hindi tayo dapat ma-entertain nito mga politiko na ito. Dapat sila ay magbalik sa atin ng serbisyo dahil sila po yung nakaupo dyan. Kaya hindi po nila magagawa yun, umalis na sila. Wala silang silbi. Okay? So yun lang po para sa episode natin ngayong gabi para ngayong araw. Pero bago po tayo magtapos, I'd like to greet one of our supporters. No? Nag-message sa akin si Wendy Eslava. Sabi niya, ayun, binabati natin ang kanyang lola, si Mama Nan Eslava of San Diego, California, of Toronto, Canada, and from Silay City. So she's celebrating her 78th birthday ngayong araw na ito. Sabi niya, my mom and I watch your podcast every day. We enjoy every episode, especially with Edu Manzanas. Okay, maraming salamat po Wendy and happy birthday po kay Lola Nan Eslava. Okay, maraming salamat po sa inyo lahat and kita-kita po tayo sa Lunes, Monday, live episode po tayo. You won't regret it. Panoorin niyo po yung episode natin sa Monday. Promise. Okay? Live po yun at hihimayin po natin itong i-deliver na sona ni President Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr. Magandang araw, magandang gabi po sa inyong lahat.